It was a little scary when she talked about volunteering for chart and emotional labor came up as the slide. So my name is Jennifer Belk, and I'm going to talk a little bit about emotional labor in the hospitality industry today. And we're going to start with what is emotional labor. And interestingly, this ties into what we just heard Audrey talking about. I wrote down that phrase, love strangers. I had never heard that etymology of hospitality before, but I love it. Sometimes it's very hard to love strangers. Almost as hard as it is to love ourselves, but sometimes it's very hard to love strangers. So we're going to start by defining emotional labor. And emotional labor has kind of been, I'm going to do this. Emotional labor has been morphed a little bit from its original term by a lot of TikTok influencers and folks. But the original concept of emotional labor was crafted in the 1980s by a sociologist named Arlie Hochschild. And she did a fascinating study on Delta flight attendants and their experiences in having to provide that level of service. And they were being trained to invite flyers onto their airplane as if they were guests in their home. And sometimes that becomes difficult if you're not feeling like having guests today. You know, you've had to go chase your dog through the Florida heat for 30 minutes, or you've had a fight with your boyfriend, or you barely have gas money to make it to work, or the last guest you worked with was really angry just because they like being angry. And so emotional labor is defined as the requirement that most of us in our organizations have to display certain emotions because it's a requirement of the job. We have to smile when we're within 10 feet of a guest walking down the hall. We have to go up to our tables and greet them with a certain phrase because that's what the marketing team decided, the phrase that we're going to use. We have to smile, we have to be welcoming and happy, and that's not always easy. And it can lead to burnout, and it can lead to a disconnect between our real emotions and the emotions that are expected to put on display. And at its worst, it can be seen as managing the feelings of others at the expense of our own. It happens to us as trainers. I cannot be the only one in here who has had to deliver a training session when that is the last thing I want to do is be up in front of a group and be energetic and deal with the sometimes off-base answers that they give. But it also happens to our team members. And so what I'd really like to focus on today are just some ideas, just planting a seed, because this could be a whole breakout session. But today I just want to plant a seed of some things we can take back and think about as we are training our team members to consider. So first thing I want to talk about the impact of emotional labor. And we alluded to this a little bit ago, that it can lead to burnout. It can lead to a feeling of disconnection. It can lead to stress. It can lead to job dissatisfaction, and ultimately to losing people who were good team members and who had real potential, but they just didn't have the tools in place to deal with the emotional labor that we were asking of them. Why do we ask our team members to engage in emotional labor? Why do they have to put on the smile, be warm and welcoming? Because that's what our guests expect. Oh, wrong green button. I'm going to have to put tape on this one or something. There's the green button. Emotional labor is about the guest interactions. And how many times have we taught LAST or BLAST or LEAST or any of the other dozen acronyms for service recovery? Most of us do something like that. And so what we're doing is we're giving our team members tools, we're giving them phrases and steps to take. Listen, apologize, solve, thanks. Listen, empathize, apologize, solve, thank. Believe, listen, apologize, solve, thank. We're giving them all these acronyms of steps to take. but we're not always giving them the tools to regulate and manage their own emotions in that moment. And that's the seed I want to plant today, is where can we add some value, add some tools, add some ideas for our team members so that we're focusing not only on the very important guest recovery, service recovery issues, but also on our team members' mental health, our team members' ability to stay connected and stay focused and not come out of a situation like that feeling worse than they did going into it. So when Dr. Hochschild was coming up with this concept of emotional labor and doing the research that she did with, actually she did Delta flight attendants and kind of on the opposite end of emotional labor, people who were working in call centers to call people who hadn't paid their bills. So trying to deal with the very angry side of, you have to pay me or else, and the very happy side of, welcome to my airplane, everything's wonderful, glad you're here. But one of the things she discovered is that people tend to do one of two things when they are being asked to engage in emotional labor. They either engage in deep acting or they engage in surface acting. Now, surface acting is fake. It's putting on the smile. It's saying, oh, I'm just gonna, I was told that I have to smile and thank you for bringing this to our attention. And in my head, I'm thinking, just go away. Just get away from my front desk, go to your room. If I have to talk to you one more minute, I'm just gonna explode. Surface acting leads to emotional dissonance because the emotions that you're really feeling don't match with the emotions that you're being required to display. And so while sometimes in the moment surface acting is all we can do, like it's the most I can do is paste on a smile, but if we teach our team members and our managers who are supporting those team members every day to instead work on engaging in deep acting, it can be ultimately less stressful for our team members. So deep acting is when you actually try to change your emotion so that you're not just pasting on the smile, you're not just faking it. And it's not faking it till you make it. It's actually working internally to shift gears and get the emotions that you're actually feeling more in alignment with the emotions you're being asked to display. Years and years ago, it wasn't that many years ago, it was like 10 years ago. I'm making myself feel really old, but many years ago, I was a director of training at Ignite Restaurant Group, and one of our concepts was Joe's Crab Shack. And at the time, at least, part of Joe's Crab Shack was you had to dance. Now, I don't want to dance anyway, but especially when my company's making me get up and dance, and I had to teach people the dances when we'd open new restaurants or whatever. So instead of, oh, I'm gonna have to do this stupid dance and whatever and paste this smile on my face, I actually tried to shift gears and think about, what if this was a party? What if these people here were my guests and we were having fun? I would, at that point, want to get up and dance. So changing your emotional feeling to align with the expectations can be very helpful. Now, there's some important ways to do this that we can help support our team members with. Authenticity of emotion is really one of the most important aspects of deep acting. Employees are actually feeling the emotions that they display. Surface acting is a performance, and it just feels intrinsically less supportive and more emotionally draining. Emotional dissonance, we've talked about. Surface acting causes you to feel disconnected. Now, the long-term impact of these, both deep acting and surface acting are labor. They are work. But overall, deep acting is more sustainable. And it leads to happier team members, it leads to greater retention, it leads to better guest satisfaction too, because their experience, the guest's experience, is connected with what they're saying and doing for the guest. So in terms of, very quickly, how can we use this knowledge to help our team members? We can give them some strategies. So emotional intelligence training, incorporating this, not just teaching last or blast or least, but teaching them self-awareness tools so that they can see when they're falling into surface acting. Self-regulation, how they can manage their emotions through things like mindfulness techniques, relaxation, what's the meaning behind their actions, what's the purpose of what they're doing, and then finally empathy. Really getting them to understand how to put themselves in their guests' shoes and understand this person may have had a hellish day of travel, and when they come up to the front desk and they're unhappy, it's not that they're unhappy at me, it's that they're unhappy at their day or their 3 days of travel that James had, So also then teaching some stress management and resilience tools, mindfulness, making sure that our managers understand that sometimes a team member is going to have to take a break. Sometimes somebody just needs to step into the back for 2 minutes and just take that time to take a few deep breaths and be able to move on. And then service recovery, providing training on using deep acting so that they are getting opportunities to actually connect with the true emotion and align with what they need to be. So obviously, emotional labor is and always will be an integral part of our industry. And whether employees are engaging in surface acting or deep acting, they have to manage their emotions effectively, both for their well-being and for the well-being of our organizations. And as hospitality trainers, it's our role to provide them with those tools and support that they need. And if you would like to talk further about this, because I could talk for hours about emotional labor, I won't, but if you'd like to, please connect with me on LinkedIn. Thank you so much.